just like that, they buy it. They eat it up. You pander to them, you thank them. I mean, really, people, I thought you were a little bit smarter than that. I mean, it's just so easy to say the name of the city. You cheer.
Hey, Stephanie,
you cheer. I mean, just come on.
Welcome to the A Show.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the A Show with the Kings of Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am Justin. I'm here with Meelz. Meelz, arigato.
Aloha.
I love that.
I don't know. Whatever. Instagram's down. Instagram's been down all day. What do we do? What do I do with my spare time?
What
do I do?
Learn.
I mean, nothing. I don't get
like go outside.
I mean, I've been outside. It's not that great, to be honest with you. It's kind of overrated. I'm not even going to hold you. And it's not even that warm or anything to go outside. Maybe it is where you're from, but not where I'm from. But Instagram's down. I mean, Facebook might as well have been down for 8 years. Like it's very inconsequential to the way I live my life. But Instagram's a little bit different. Instagram is a key time waster for me. And I've been super productive today. Yeah, I've been super productive today because this thing has been down, man. Like, it's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. I'm very not happy with Instagram being down. So that is how I feel today.
Yeah, it sucked, especially when you work in like heavily in social media. It's definitely terrible. I had to work a lot of shit on Twitter today, but very, very, very.
There are a ton of flat belly teas going on sold because of.
I told my friend that that people who do that should just consider today a day off.
Yeah, why not? You know what? The bag never takes a day off. How about that? The bag can always be found somewhere. How about that?
You know what hasn't taken a day off is Mark Madness. This is. Again, very surprised, very humbled by the support of Mark Madness in its second week. I mean, we're still pulling numbers, man. People are really, really resonating with this, and I have to thank everybody for voting.
You know what? First time I might have been humbled, but now I think we got to talk some shit because, I mean, this has just been the greatest tournament on Twitter currently, and. I mean, we're doing big things here. And, shout out to everybody else who's doing their March Madness. So we got the Wrestle Rap one who's doing entrances. Shout out to the people at,
Barber's Chair
doing the damn thing with black professional wrestlers. But, best of the decade is the best of the decade. And we really come down to the wire here. And we have a very interesting group of results that we've got going on. I think we should just start going over them.
Yeah, let's do it. Round 2, one of the hottest matches that we had on round 2. First up, this is the upset of the we got 2 upsets of the tournament here. First matchup, CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho won by 62%.
Listen, 62% to 38%. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. Chris Jericho is someone who's been just, once again, omnipresent. And sorry if you can hear something in the background. I have no idea what they're doing outside. But it's just omnipresent in the back, in just professional wrestling entirely and in WWE. I mean, CM Punk, great first 4 years of the decade. Probably one of the best. And maybe if he continued throughout the entire decade, probably would be a finals contender easily.
I think the list put Jericho over the top.
Yeah, it revived him. It really gave him like a second or third life, to be honest with you. And I'm not mad at it. Chris Jericho deserves the win.
Yeah, absolutely. The next match, Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. 81%. This is just, they blew him out the water. 81% for Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton. You know what, man? Again, I'm not mad at Rollins winning. I'm mad at the margin of which Rollins won. I do think this was a little bit skewed by people's just general opinions on Randy Orton as a person, I think.
I think we're completely underestimating. As much as, Randy Orton is great, I think we're underestimating the love that people have for Seth Rollins. Because
and I get that, but I think that Randy
he's
Orton,
blown out his first two opponents out of the water. He's won the first round. He beat Alexa Bliss. He was 85% to 15%. Second, 13-time champion Randy Orton, guy who's talking his talk on SmackDown this week, beat him by a margin of what, like 60%? Like it's ridiculous at this point.
But I think people need to put a little bit more respect on Randy's name, man. For real. I've always been a Randy Orton fan.
Listen, 19% of people put respect on Randy Orton's name. 19% of all people will put respect on Randy Orton's name. And that's a statistic I'm perfectly fine with, to be honest with you.
The next matchup was John Cena versus AJ Styles.
A little closer. Yeah, for sure. This is actually a real matchup that's actually happened. And once again, John Cena comes out on top, 60% to 40% over AJ Styles. Again, another one I'm not too mad at. We're entering AJ's fourth year as in the WWE. He's done amazing things. He's grabbed almost every single belt except the Intercontinental and the US belt. Or no, the Intercontinental and the tag belts, right? That's the only two he has won, right? Yes.
So he's tremendous. 4 years for him already, 2-time WWE champion. But John Cena, he closed in on 16.
John Cena's John Cena. That's really it. John Cena's John Cena. And it'll be surprising if he makes it to the finals once again, considering, he's a contender for, John Cena to me, in terms of last decade, one of the best. Arguably the superstar of the last decade, in my opinion. It's between him and Triple H.
And what's crazy? He got better this decade.
He got better.
He had some crazy matches in 2016.
Well, everyone hated him in the last decade. And I'd say at some points rightfully so, because I still don't think he fully had ring psychology down as much as we all think he did for a bulk of his early career. But he really turned the corner in 2010. And I think he really turned the corner after being suplexed out of his pants by Brock Lesnar. And he really turned the corner that kind of, made him, he's just a figure. He's just John Cena now. He's really a legend in its own right. And I think people give him the respect for that.
Absolutely. Next matchup. This is father versus son also. Low key. Triple H versus Kevin Owens. Triple H narrowly beats Kevin Owens 52% to 48%. This is one of the hottest rounds or matches in this whole round. I think
it's one of the closest for sure. Yeah.
Kevin Owens, Universal Champion, Intercontinental Champion, US Champion. Once again, another guy who hasn't won the tag champs yet. Just a tremendous 10-year or decade for him. And he just came in 2015.
Right. He's incredible. He's been incredible for the latter half of this decade. Triple H has also been, Triple H really in this decade, as good as he was last decade, and don't get me wrong, he was great. He was on top all it. It seems like he's turned the corner and I don't want to say he got better, but he's aged better in the ring than most people.
He knows the spots.
Right. He's aged better in the ring. He's aged better on the mic. He's not someone who's trying to figure out what does he do in this, in his late 40s or going into early 50s. He's someone who kind of knows. And that puts him really above the rest in terms of just really this veteran class of people from the 90s still wrestling.
Look at the matches he's had versus Sting. And then you got versus Seth Rollins,
Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns. Yep. He's faced them more than a couple people in this decade. CM Punk, a lot of different people.
Dean Ambrose, Brock Lesnar. Just his, and not a lot of those matches he came out on top on. So it means a lot. And we're not going to talk about the Undertaker matches, but it means a lot that he's still at the top of his game in front of the camera and behind the camera. I think a lot of this of his love is also predicated on the fact that he is kind of like the mastermind of NXT. He and his team there have done a lot, and it's not surprising that people think so highly of him now this decade.
No, it's not surprising at all.
This next one, Meelz.
I mean, you knew it was going to happen. I mean, I was surprised that The Miz even got out the first round. So this is a victory for me. This is a victory for all of us who are just Miz supporters, but not enough of a victory.
The Miz versus Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan beat The Miz by 72%. I just think, honestly, Daniel's my dark horse to win it all, and that's even over Roman. I just think Daniel Bryan, to me, honestly, and I'll say
he personified the decade.
Yeah, I think he is the best wrestler in the world. I think he is, when it's said and done at the end of this decade, he's probably going to be my number one top wrestler of all time. I'm just going to say it right now. The run he's on right now, and the run he was on in 2014, that's 2 runs that he's had where he's just at the top of his game and having great matches with everybody. Yeah. If he can stick the landing with this Kofi thing and make Kofi look like the biggest star on earth, can you argue it? I don't think you can argue it.
Right.
At all. I think he's the best of all time. I think he's the best in the world right now, and he's the best of all time. Daniel Bryan, he absolutely deserves this. All right, next matchup, Roman Reigns versus Asuka. This one hurts me. It hurts the big dog here. And not Roman, me, the big dog. Roman Reigns wins 71%. Asuka undefeated streak. That goes without saying. That puts her on the list of probably the top 3 greatest WWE women of all time. But it's Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I mean, it's Roman Reigns' time, and he's got a lot of momentum just in right now, and just really in the attention of people. I think if this was a year ago, he might have not have gone this way, to be honest. But Roman Reigns, here we are, man.
Next matchup, Rey Mysterio versus Sasha Banks. This is actually an interesting matchup here, just of students of Eddie Guerrero, and one in the physical and one in just the inspiration. But Sasha Banks narrowly edging out Rey Mysterio, 53% to 47%.
I mean, is it safe to say, judging by this tournament, I wouldn't say it's by this tournament, but Sasha is the last woman standing in this tournament. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and say, as far as influence, as far as just everything, even in ring, like she is the best woman of the decade to me. I'll say it.
Really?
I'll say it's her. Then I'll say it's her and Asuka, and then Charlotte.
Nah, I'll say it's definitely Charlotte. I feel like Charlotte has. Sasha Banks is good.
Sasha Banks is great. You gotta bring Brooklyn into that.
I 100% bring Brooklyn into it, but also it's like Charlotte Flair has the ability to make a match feel bigger than it is. And that's something that you don't get that big match feel all the time from Sasha Banks. Even against like a Ronda Rousey, just the difference in sort of magnitude. I'm going to factor that in, but I do believe Sasha Banks definitely top 3 of the decade, easily.
Yeah, for sure.
She beat Rey Mysterio. She's the last woman standing in this tournament. Shout out to Sasha Banks.
For sure. Hey, last woman standing. I say her and Asuka are probably my top 2 of the decade. Next match. Oh boy. Me and Meelz had a conversation about this last matchup earlier today. And I was like, how do we even judge this one? We're going to judge it based on what Twitter tells us and not based on the numbers, but
no, it's legitimately. I think it's legitimately based on the numbers. I don't want to say that it's just Twitter as just its algorithm. I do think it's based on the numbers. It's just a situation where both numbers round to 50% of the vote. Like it doesn't skew one way, it doesn't skew the other way, and maybe that's a problem on Twitter's behalf.
Yeah.
But we seemingly had a tie for the last spot.
Yeah, 50%. And the thing is, Brock has had literally two matches that had 50% margins on them.
Yeah,
and it's like insane. So, Finn Balor over Brock Lesnar. Is there anything that you can kind of like think of that could kind of explain this?
So, in this sort of sense, there is. It's less than a 1% margin It's less than a 1% margin. So what I kind of did, and I used my math skills, 1% of 369 votes, that is 3.69. That means it has to be less than that. So it's definitely around 3. It's around 3 or 2 votes that kind of skewed the way of Finn Balor. 3, 2, or 1. It doesn't matter. But it's definitely out of the 369 votes, between 1 and 3 votes decided it all.
Yeah.
So it could be definitely a 3 vote margin. It could be 3 votes that literally swung this in the way of Finn Balor. But Finn Balor ultimately wins. I'm going to say this just because.
So yeah, we had a lot of technical difficulties on this episode, and I think we actually talk about it in the next segment here that's going to show up again. But to be clear, a whole 30 minutes of me and Meelz' conversation on this episode was cut off after the Mark Madness segment. We missed out on a whole Dave Meltzer meltdown I did. What else did I say? Harlem Heat stuff. Let's just kind of break down everything, Meelz, just so that we can advance the show.
Right.
It's very late.
It's very.
Very, very late. So yes. Wow, we're very flabbergasted here. No, this is like in real time too. No holds barred for this week. Harlem Heat is going to the Hall of Fame. Booker T is going to be a 2-time entrant. Meelz, we're very excited about this, correct?
I'm very excited. I mean, it's hard to think excitement for the second time, but hey, listen, if it's for Booker T, I can do a second time. Booker T, Harlem Heat, one of the greatest things. I think we talked about in the previous segment of are they called Harlem Heat because Houston wasn't tough enough?
I thought that they were really from New York, so it was a Santa Claus isn't real moment when I found out that they weren't.
But you know what, Harlem, New York, MetLife Stadium. Let's just make sure, just don't send Harlem Heat to Harlem in 2019. How about that?
Also shout out to Wrestlemania that will also be taking place in New York that same week. Shout out to Kaz, Emilio, and Wale, as well as Leo Rush, Booker T, who's going into Hall of Fame, Shane Strickland, Kenny King, Moose, Alexis Littlefoot. What's going on? Everybody that's going to show up to Wrestlemania. We also, one thing that did bother me about the Harlem Heat thing, and I talked about this at length. I'm a little less mad now. Is that Dave Meltzer and the bubble of wrestling journalism. Wrestling journalism has to define itself as something else, and it can't be under Dave Meltzer. We need a wrestling journalist that people can go towards. And Dave Meltzer can't be that anymore. He's an old white guy. His fits are trash. He looks like his breath stinks. He's got to go. And I'm going to keep saying this until he is gone. So, yeah, fuck that. Fuck him. And fuck what he said about Roman this week.
Trust us, it was a lot more articulate and a lot more profound, and there was a lot more F-bombs that we had for Dave Meltzer. I actually think he's getting off pretty easy because of this edit. But it's
I said a lot.
You said a lot, but there are plenty of other weeks I think we'll have this. But everyone shares the same sentiment. Nia Jax shares the same sentiment, especially for someone who's trying to, you're a pro wrestling journalist who not doing your research and trying to diagnose a man and let him know what his own disease is, even though he's the person who's gone through it himself. So a big fuck you to Dave Meltzer. Just had to say that for myself. But yes, it's what a situation that we have going on.
Terrible situation. Yeah, fuck you, bro. Fuck you. Fuck Alvarez. Fuck Keller. All of them. They got to go. Fuck them. We got into Raw. I think we're going to end right at the Finn segment. But Raw and SmackDown did advance a couple of stories. We did talk about Fastlane.
We talked about Fastlane. So
yes.
In terms of Fastlane, we both thought it was a great pay-per-view.
One of my favorites. Really loved it.
We thought it was a great pay-per-view. Big moments. You had Shane McMahon turning on The Miz. I don't think anyone could have saw that coming out of nowhere. I think everyone thought it was going to be the other way around. We had a fantastic impromptu triple threat match for the WWE Championship between Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and Mustafa Ali. And it's really, Mustafa Ali is just the perfect person to put in that match. Because of his win over Daniel Bryan a few weeks ago. Perfect person in terms of a genuine underdog that people can kind of get behind. Fantastic. Asuka defeats Mandy Rose in a match.
My least favorite match of the night.
Also, Bayley and Sasha Banks retained the women's tag team championships against Nia Jax and Tamina, and also another one. I had a long actual discussion about tag team. I'll talk about it next week. I just don't have the time to talk about it now.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll definitely talk about it next week in terms of women's tag team wrestling, because I do feel like it's something that's kind of getting it. We're still getting off. We're still getting to the races with this thing. We're still building it, and it's still trying to define this genre of wrestling. It is a new genre of wrestling, that's kind of thing. And it's not that women haven't tag teamed before, but it's kind of something that the audience, the wrestlers themselves, and everybody, the entire industry kind of has to get used to and start to incorporate if we're really going to make this thing work. So we'll talk more about the women's tag team championships, especially, it seems like the next challengers up to the bat are Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, or at this point, Natalya and Beth Phoenix, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, who the fuck knows? I do think that they're giving a lot. They're giving so much to this that it's kind of taking away from other programs. And I will talk about the Asuka program a little bit later on in the show. But moving straight on to Raw. Again, it is moving storylines forward. You had an appearance from Shelton Benjamin and Seth Rollins. They had a match together. So you're already seeing that they're full steam ahead on Brock and Seth. A lot of people were very concerned they might insert Roman into that for some strange reason. But it seems that this is the program, and I'm glad that they're sticking with it, and they're gonna heat it up. I'm very glad Seth is back on TV wrestling again, because it Raw sorely needed his talent on there, because there wasn't a lot of him in the coming weeks. And I guess the next biggest part of the show, and the actual show that we're talking on, is the Finn Balor IC title situation. And Meelz, you do ask me how I felt about it. And
I genuinely want to know your reaction. I still kind of want to, as a fan. So here's the thing. There's a difference. I feel like, just as wrestling fans, and I've said this before, we've all had this conversation before, that you kind of lose the art of like being a kid and actually being a fan, and we turn into an analyst way too much. I just want to know your genuine reaction about this Finn Balor thing. I know what you think about it from an angle point of view. I know what you think about it. Oh man, the story, and this is fantastic. Just feel, man, come on. It's Finn Balor. He lost the Intercontinental Championship in 1 month. Lost it back to Bobby Lashley.
And
the story works. The story works. Whatever. The story works.
And don't spoil it. But as you can see, I know that there are like people are like nibbling at their fingernails right now. I do say how I feel about it in this next segment. Thank you guys for listening to the show. We are literally doing this in 5 minutes, of 30 minutes condensed into 5 minutes.
This is true. We've done the show already, and now we're kind of talking about it again. But please don't hold us against us.
Yeah, we're talking from the future.
We're talking essentially, this happens all after we've recorded this show. I've said Happy Rusev Day. At this point, my laptop is supposed to be closed. Rusev Day has said, but we are doing this from the future. We're talking about the past. I would like everyone to know there's a great Kofi Kingston segment coming up.
Yes,
we're talking a lot about a lot of different things. So just stay tuned. I mean, we'll get back to your regularly scheduled program as soon as we get back to the regularly scheduled program. You know what I'm saying?
And I think everything was down this week, like Facebook, Instagram, everything was Google, everything was
everything. Well, Instagram is kind of back up, but I guess it's contagious this week.
Yes, absolutely. Technology is very contagious. We're not going to say thank you for listening, because we're going to say that in 30 minutes. But thank you guys for sticking with us on this technical difficulty. If you're wondering why the show is so short this week, this is why. So let's hear about why I'm not very worried about this Finn Balor program. The only finish that I have been upset with is the finish that literally just cut off at least 5 minutes of our show due to technical difficulties.
Well, listen. Trust us. We had very great things to say about this Bobby Lashley.
Meelz tried to needle me into being upset about Finn Balor.
I mean, you should be upset as a fan, as a stan. Come on, you should be upset.
I'm not upset. The thrill is in the chase.
The thrill, yeah, sure, okay.
I think that I said that I do. You intimated that Leo Bobby is a program, and I agree. I do think that is a program, but I do also think that they're going to throw a curveball and make it Finn versus Bobby versus Leo, and have Finn pin Bobby finally, because I never felt right with Finn winning that off of Leo. That's not very babyface to me.
What if Leo wins it off of Bobby?
That's not going to happen. I think
you say because the belt is bigger than him. Damn! Don't hurt me at the Wally Mania, bro. I didn't really mean that.
That's your fault. This is actually better than what we recorded before,
bro. Sorry.
We also before we cut off, we touched on Batista and Triple H. We did agree that he doesn't always cut the best promos, but he does speak from the heart. And
I'll say this. And I'll just repeat a little bit of what I said. I do believe he speaks from the heart, and I do believe he's someone who it's kind of a genuine verbiage when it comes out of his mouth. And what comes out of his mouth may always not be the best thing. Not everyone's a great public speaker, by the way. Just not everyone is. I mean, in the WWE, I guess you're supposed to be at this point, but even in WWE, not a lot of people are. Dave Batista, I believe the things that he says. I believe in just the aura and the presence of Dave Batista.
Hearing that theme, I popped.
Oh yeah, and then him coming out with the security and all that other stuff. He's got the atmosphere down. He's got the Hollywood Batista. Hollywood Rock is one of my favorite things. It was just one of my favorite eras of the Rock. It might be my favorite era of the Rock. Hollywood Batista's up there, and if he says, I was hoping for a run. He says, if I'm going to go out on my final match, which this is his final match.
I don't think it's going to be his final match.
I hope not. But he says it's his final match. He says, I want to beat Triple H, even though I beat him multiple times before in my lifetime. Actually, every time before I've beaten him. That's what he said. I don't know. He's Dave Batista. What am I going to tell him to do? He's a Hollywood star. He's guardian of the independence. What did Triple H say?
I thought it was a great promo.
I thought it was great. I thought it was great back and forth. It's simple. You got Triple H with the leather jacket, which from there on, he means business.
Yeah.
And Dave Batista just looks incredible.
Dave Batista dressed like motherfucking Barry Manilow performing.
Man dressed like Pitbull, baby. Come on. Mr. Worldwide.
Kurt Angle is retiring at WrestleMania. I'm glad he finally admitted what we all wanted to happen.
I don't believe that shit, but yeah.
I don't think he had to beat Apollo Crews on Monday, though.
Here's the thing. I thought they could have gave that match a lot more time and a lot more competitive spirit to it. But then I don't think, I honestly don't think, and I love Apollo Crews, I don't think he's that type of opponent yet that
he can get a lot out of Angle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it could be that back and forth thing. He hasn't yet had that kind of back and forth match yet. And he kind of hasn't established himself as that. Maybe he could do it. Don't get me wrong. Apollo Crews, UHA Nation. I remember it all. But I don't think he can. I want someone who's going to give Kurt the match of his life. But also Kurt is 50 years old. So the match of his life may be the match of his life.
Yeah.
But I still want to see it. I kind of want to see that back and forth Kurt Angle. I'm kind of mad we're not going to get Kurt Angle versus Daniel Bryan ever.
I think Daniel could get a hell of a match out of Kurt.
Yeah, I think so too. I think his mind, just Daniel Bryan's mind and Kurt Angle's maniac mind, could get a great match out of one another. Like, I was anticipating that. I hope we end up seeing it, but I'm not mad if we don't.
I think the biggest storyline of the night was that I think we do have two directions for Roman. One of them will be Roman versus Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. I think that's definitely a lock at this point. Drew basically gave the man CTE. One thing I do love about Roman in this second comeback, they've made him a lot more sympathetic, and people believe it now.
Yeah,
it's actually like very interesting to see how they book him. Like, you've never seen a Roman angle where he had to walk off and have the trainers next to him. And I think that makes Drew look better by comparison, and it makes Roman a better babyface. I think if you have Roman in this position where they doubt that he can win, it will get more support behind him when he eventually does win, instead of making it a foregone conclusion. I loved the segment with Drew, and I love what came after with Dean. They're setting Drew up to be a fucking killer. and I really like it.
I love Drew. I'm interested in, like, are we going all the way? I want to know if we're going all the way with Drew, because especially as champion, I'm really interested in seeing if we're going all the way with him, or if this is just like we're building this guy up to get beaten down by somebody else. Because that's kind of it could definitely.
I don't see him in a Rusev. I don't see him in a Rusev position. I don't see that for him.
Interesting. I mean, we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see come, I think this year should be Drew's year, to be honest with you. If he's going to win, a major championship or anything like that, I think this should be the year, because he's really on a tear right now. Like, he's really killing it right now.
Yeah, I think he looked really great at the end of Raw. And if this was the write-off to Dean Ambrose, what a way to go out. I thought, usually I sleep through Dean Ambrose matches, but he thrives in no DQ matches, and this was no different. I thought the rail, him being trapped in the railing and then getting hit with the Claymore was an excellent spot. I thought it was a great spot. And I also love Drew's just brutality in the match. I think that if you set up someone like Drew as someone who could actually hurt Roman and put him on the shelf, people are already conditioned to think of Roman as someone who is not 100% yet,
right.
Even though he is, obviously. But, the perception is that he might not be ready yet. And having Drew be the person that puts that in doubt, I think that'll set up for a really, really great fucking match.
Yeah.
I think the only other big thing on Raw is that Alexa Bliss is hosting it, which, whatever.
I agree. I agree. I don't even, it's not much to talk about.
SmackDown was predicated on two big angles as well. Or actually, three big angles. I thought the promos on this show were fucking amazing. Not as much action as Raw, but definitely great promos.
Sometimes you need that on SmackDown. A lot of the things are action-based. SmackDown also has to tell a story, especially going into the biggest, story-driven show of the year, WrestleMania. And we kicked off the show with Shane McMahon talking about, why he turned on The Miz. Essentially like, yo, I'm tired of doing stuff for people. Everyone asks me to do stuff, and then I do it, and I'm supposed to be cool with it. Nah, like...
Sure. Sure. Just turn. Like I love the McMahon.
It depends though. The Shane McMahon as a heel back in the day, you really want to kick his ass because he was like this punk kid. He was this punk kid who was running around, jumping around. He had hops. Yeah. But he bought all that stuff. Like he was essentially bought to become a wrestler. Like now he's kind of like grumpy old man,
I like the cockiness of it, and I love the idea that he is so upset at the love that the Miz's dad has for him. I think that's what it's predicated on, is that he's jealous. He's got all the money in the world, he does all this stuff, but he still can't find that love.
Listen, that best in the world trophy as well. It's it's still part of this.
And I can't wait to see what Miz says in retaliation. I'm thinking a really good promo next week from the Miz. But I also loved in that promo, he ordered the Miz to face him at WrestleMania, and you don't get that too much. It's like even McMahon should do it. It's just like he's just kind of like, okay, this is the match. Shane McMahon said, "You work for me, and I order you to be in this match at WrestleMania." And I was short, sweet, to the point. I loved it.
I like it.
Another huge kind of promo that went on here was Randy Orton and AJ Styles, which is yet another Mania. Like SmackDown was all about setting up the Mania matches, and other than the women's title, they have everything set at this point.
Yeah, I could go for a few more SmackDown matches, but that Randy Orton and AJ Styles, they've been brushing around each other for the past couple weeks. Now we finally got to the actual match itself. Randy Orton, says, listen, you say you are the guy that SmackDown, you are what's AJ Styles thing? The SmackDown
the house that the AJ Styles built.
SmackDown is the house that AJ Styles built. Well, I've been here since 2002. And guess what I was doing in 2002 while he was wrestling, for $10? I was debuting on SmackDown. And in 2004, where he was wrestling at bingo halls, and I was becoming the youngest world champion. In 2005, when I was main eventing against against The Undertaker, you were wrestling for Dixie Carter and getting tans with Dixie Carter in Florida. It's crazy how I actually remember this promo because Randy Orton promos bother and bore me. But
he brought it.
He brought it. I mean, it seemed like genuine. It came from their facts were stated. Not all the facts, but not all the $10 thing. Maybe he was wrestling with $10. Who knows? 2002 was kind of crazy, but facts were brought. Timeline. Why he has a genuine gripe in terms of this is the house that I've built, and now you're coming in here and you don't belong. So guess what? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how it's done.
Man, AJ can make anybody. Pretty much anyone look good except for Kevin Owens. I think that he can make Randy Orton look like the old days again, man. I really do love the idea and I love the direction for this feud. It doesn't need like a lot of the SmackDown feuds. They don't need a lot of oil to cook them, like so to speak. Like they're very, very like, okay, this is what it is. This is the match. Let's get to the match. And that's the one thing I love about the builds to all of these matches so far. It's like, we know that they're coming. Let's just get to the match already. Like that and that's one thing that's kind of confusing me with this Asuka program, because it's like they're building instead a Mandy Sonya program instead of an Asuka one. And it's almost making me feel as though Asuka's going to be facing both of them at WrestleMania.
I feel like she's going to be facing both of them at WrestleMania. There doesn't seem to be any other, alternative. But it looks like Asuka versus Sonya Deville. I mean, some people are saying Lacey Evans,
who didn't show up on the show. She's exclusively showed up on Raw this week.
She even has a little thing, a little jazz on the bottom of the screen. But Asuka versus Sonya versus Mandy.
Makes sense. I mean, again, it makes sense the way that they position Mandy and Sonya in the Elimination Chamber. We have been saying for months that they seem to be the projects on SmackDown, that are next in line. Working with Asuka would be a good idea. I just think that, like, if this is the case, Asuka needs more. I'm not mad at the match, but this isn't, to me, it's not like, I would have just loved them to bring Natty over if that was the case. And I know she's not really liked by a lot of people, but like, I thought that would have been a lot hotter than what it looks like we're getting here. I'm very not impressed with what they're doing with Asuka right now. And it's like you took Charlotte away from her, so she has really nowhere to go. She's in her own orbit. It's no fault of her own. She's not not hot. People do love her. They do believe in her. It's just like you keep throwing bullshit at her. I don't understand it.
I think this is a stalling game until whatever the shakeup is, and then we'll get some sizable opponents for Asuka.
I hope so.
I think this is we're gonna get something in the shakeup. I think we're gonna get some women on Monday on SmackDown, some different type of women. I do think one of Sonya and Mandy will not last together on the same roster after the shakeup. I think we're gonna split them apart, and this is kind of where it's heading. And then we'll have some confusing match at Backlash where both are in different brands but still having the match, whatever. But I mean, Asuka versus Sonya versus Mandy. No, I mean, I understand it. I mean, but yeah, I'm also not as excited. But I mean, impress me. By all means,
sure.
By all means, impress me. I mean, do some cool shit. To be honest with you.
We also had another Becky Lynch. Listen, Becky Lynch and Charlotte. I'm sold. I don't need to see no more.
It's really on every show.
Even with Ronda's promo on Monday, I don't need to see no more. Like, y'all could take 2 weeks off. I'm cool with it. Like, I don't need no more promos. I don't need no more Twitter shit. I don't need no more shit between them. Like, the story, again, I'm not a big fan of the story, and I think I just want to see the match. Like, this has been going on for a really long time. And you know what's funny? Like, someone even said this. Like, by the time we get to the video package, we'll have forgotten all about it, because the video package will condense every single thing that we loved about this feud and make us believe why we loved it in the first place. But as far as the week to week, I'm good. I don't need, Becky said nothing in this promo on Tuesday.
Yeah, it said nothing really. I mean, a lot of this has been fueled just by the promos. A lot of things have just been fueled by things like that. I don't think we need to see it on both rosters. really every week. I think we could dedicate this time to having some other people in the ring or longer matches or something like that. But I don't know if we need to see this every week. I don't know if need to see Becky Lynch and Charlotte on both shows every week heading into WrestleMania. But it is the main event. They're really trying to put it over as the main event. If this is all because it's the main event, I understand.
Yeah, and it will be the main event.
Unless somehow it surprises me and Roman versus Drew main events WrestleMania. Because
I don't even think Roman will want that.
Roman's gonna be like, yo, bruh.
Nah, Roman's he's not gonna allow that. I know it for a fact. He's not gonna allow that. We also have another tag match between U.S. title contenders. Rey Mysterio did pin Samoa Joe on this show. Very interesting.
The number one contender, Abby.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what they're doing with Andrade and Ray going into Mania.
I'll be honest, do the Fatal 4-Way again at Mania. I could watch that a million times.
Or a ladder match.
Yeah, a ladder match. A ladder match. I could watch the Fatal 4-Way a million times. Somehow R-Truth or Mysterio Samoa Joe Andrade has managed to just deliver. You could throw 2 more people in that. I don't care. It seems it's just good. It just
works,
is.
Yeah. It does work. I will say that. It does work. We also had Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus Kevin Owens and Mustafa Ali, which is a pretty solid match. Again, Mustafa taking the pin. They are protecting the shit out of Kevin Owens because every time he misses a pin, he's like on the outside selling. Pretty solid. It firmly puts Ali out of the contention because, a lot of people were mad that Ali was put into the title match. He pinned Bryan, guys. This is why they put him in the match. He beat Bryan. I think he pinned him in the tag match too. Bryan got his wins back. This is literally what it was for. Then you had the Kofi promo at the end where Vince proposed a WrestleMania opportunity for him. Before we get to what the opportunity is, your thoughts on the Kofi promo?
So, beyond just the Kofi promo, I think this entire Kofi program, they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
They're doing the right thing in terms of giving this time and giving Kofi a lot more ammunition for it to eventually blow up. And if it does happen at Mania, it'll be rightfully deserved. And if it doesn't happen at Mania, you'll still feel the way it did because it'll be a major travesty. And I think that's the best we can hope for in terms of them building this feud because they want to put real, human, live, incredible emotion into it. And I thought the things that they did on Fastlane, the very small things, it wasn't a major program, but it still advanced the program by having like Kofi, like he's waiting in front of Vince's room. For some reason, he doesn't have the courage to go in. Biggie's like, yo, man, if you don't get in that damn room, I love that. And just like
from that night to Monday or to Tuesday, him actually speaking for himself.
Right.
Great.
And then we get on Tuesday, first of all, when Vince McMahon is involved in your program, your money.
Yep.
Like your money. And Vince McMahon, I mean, he comes out, he's like, listen, I created everything. You don't like everything is because of me. And I just don't think you're the guy, but you're going to have to prove to me that you're the guy. You've done great. But he's like, let me tell you what Daniel Bryan told me. Daniel Bryan told me, you're nothing but a B+ player. And I said, oh.
Full circle.
There we are.
Full circle.
What a dickhead.
Full circle moment there. I love the parallels to that. I know a lot of people, and listen, I get your reservations about where this program is going. I don't see this program going any other way than what you want this program to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally going the way that you want it to go. I'm glad it wasn't at Fastlane. Remember I was saying that a couple weeks ago. It cannot be at Fastlane. It can't be. You don't want him to win it there. You want him to win it where it matters. You want Kofi to get a singular entrance at a huge show like WrestleMania. This is a guy who's been here for 11 years, never got this opportunity. They're giving him his first opportunity at the biggest show of the year. Are you fucking kidding me? You wanted it to be at Fastlane?
I mean,
the fuck? They've made it more important in just a week. Way more important. They know what they're doing. And I know you said it last week, like the venue doesn't matter. To them, to the importance of what it is and what he'll be able to say when he gets into the fucking Hall of Fame, that's going to be the moment. It's not going to be, I did it Fastlane. It's going to be, I did it in fucking MetLife Stadium. I won it in front of 60, 70,000 people. That's what's important. I'm all in on this program. I think people need to calm down, let it play out.
Continue to let it play out because, I mean, I think rightfully, I mean, people are definitely scarred by Booker T. And, we're talking about Booker T and the WWE Championship. I don't think it's as extreme as that.
No.
And to be honest with you, from where I think the Triple H then and the Daniel Bryan now are two totally different stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Triple H then did not have confidence that Kofi Kingston or Booker T rather could do what he did. And I think the result was the reason why the result was the way it was. Mm-hmm. I thought, I feel like Triple H had a lot of biases and things like that, but I don't know the true story. I feel like Daniel Bryan is someone who's very aware and he knows this moment. And he's someone who, if it came to the opportunity of like, I think Kofi should win it, I think Daniel Bryan would absolutely be that person who'd be like,
I think they're absolutely
and not to say it's
for that.
And not to say that it's Daniel Bryan's, it's his call. It's not his call. It's Vince McMahon's call. But I don't feel like he would have a problem with it. I don't think anyone has a problem with it. To legitimately think that at WrestleMania, think of it at WrestleMania. I know this is running through Kofi Kingston's mind right now. WrestleMania, the main event. This is what we've been hoping for years with the New Day. A singular event. Everyone anticipated maybe it's going to be Big E. It is Kofi Kingston. One singular entrance, his walk down to the ring, his moment, the moment that defines his career. This is the biggest moment of Kofi Kingston's career for the last 11 years. This is the biggest moment. It doesn't get any bigger than this. It probably will not get any bigger than this. This is the run. This is the moment. I can imagine him walking in at MetLife Stadium by himself. Even if he is with New Day around him, at the end of the day, it's in the ring by himself. He stands across from the WWE champion. One man having this match. What this means to him, what this means to people, what this means to everybody. This might be the most important WWE Championship match in quite some time. Just from the genuine feel and the genuine involvement of the people in it. Everyone knows and everyone feels very strongly about this match. And
I do too. I think that, well, I mean, to be fair, he's not in the match yet because next week he's got a gauntlet match. So he has to.
Have you ever played WWF No Mercy for N64?
Yes.
Have you ever lost a match and then you kind of went on the story, like you went left on the story? That's kind of where he's tripped off into some shit because I've never seen this type of story just in my life.
So he has to face Randy Orton, Samoa Joe, Rowan, and The Bar next week in order to get his chance.
Gauntlet match.
To face Daniel Bryan. I don't know how they're going to pace this match. Because I think there's probably one more program they need to put out for WrestleMania, but we'll see how they set that up next week. Should be really good. Should be very, very emotional. I expect SmackDown to grab your Kleenexes next week. I'll just say that. I think that we're in for something very, very good next week. But yeah, I love the promo here. I think that there's nothing for anyone to worry about. They're doing this the right way. They're damn near making him the Black Daniel Bryan, and I think that's the best way to do it. This isn't a situation where he's getting fucking cold. They're literally crafting a storyline and giving him all the right ingredients that they would give. You know what?
It's not even close to WrestleMania. I mean, it's close to WrestleMania. We have 3-4 weeks till WrestleMania, but at the same time, it's like, how are you getting cold? We're building for this right now. Yet another championship match 2 days ago that they have to build towards. He's fine.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I think that they're doing the right thing. It's all good in the hood. I think it's gonna be great.
Do you think the 5-man gauntlet is a little bit of an overkill? I felt like if it was just like you have to prove yourself against Randy Orton, and Randy Orton is kind of the guy that's been giving Kofi Kingston nightmares over the last 10 years. I thought that would have been good enough. I mean, to me, the 5 guys is a little bit of an overkill, but I get what they're going for. The insurmountable odds of Vince McMahon.
all guys that he's faced before too. I mean, the Bar beat. He has storylines with all these guys. Randy, that whole thing in 2009. Rowan, obviously the Bryan angle. The Bar, that's who beat the New Day for the and crushed their record.
Right.
So it's story with all of them. He has a story with all of them, and I think if they can weave all of that in, it's going to be great. But I mean, I predict it now. I think every person that has a issue with the enemy or the people he's facing off with will help him. And I think that because it's not unusual that AJ Styles is talking about Kofi Kingston in his backstage promos. I'll just say that much. I do think he will help. But yeah, that was SmackDown and Raw for the week. And that is the A show. Do you want to talk about the NXT spoilers really quick?
Yeah, let's talk about NXT spoilers a little bit.
If you don't want to hear it, just turn the show off now.
Thanks for showing up. We love you. Happy Rusev Day. Yeah.
So they are, Ciampa is injured. They did figure out the direction next week. They set up a fatal 5-way between Aleister Black, Ricochet, Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream, and Adam Cole. Adam Cole does win this match next week, and it will be Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole for the NXT title at TakeOver New York in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I love this idea.
I love it. NXT Brooklyn is where I saw Adam Cole make his debut. For it to come full circle and him the challenge for the NXT Championship at TakeOver New York against Johnny Gargano, the most plucky face that NXT has ever had. It's incredible. I can't wait to see it.
I almost think he has to win the match, but
he has to win the match. He has to win the match.
Yeah, I we'll get to that when we get, because I mean, I think Cole and Gargano is it's a good match or a good feud to have. I think going into the spring and the summer.
And honestly, it might be a blessing in disguise because between Ciampa and Gargano, one of them would have had to stay in NXT.
Yep, right.
And now we kind of get rid of both of them. Like, I think they heard our wrap it up button and they're just like, you know what? Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Johnny can still go up after Toronto, I think, in August. They also announced a fatal 4-way for the women's title. Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and Kairi Sane will be the direction there. Not sure how I feel, and again we'll talk about it when we get there. But I'm not sure how I feel about Shayna potentially losing that in a multi-woman match. I think that it should be, definitive when you beat her, but it is what it is. And you also had Ricochet and Aleister Black winning the Dusty Classic in the finals to face War Raiders at NXT TakeOver, and what will probably be their final TakeOver. What a way to go out, though. They'll have a great match with those guys.
I'm just glad it's not the Forgotten Sons, but I think this is going to be, first of all, the weekend that Aleister Black and Ricochet are about to have.
Dog.
It's about to be nuts for them. Nuts. Like Friday night, they get a break on Saturday night because everyone's going to the Hall of Fame. And then Sunday night at WrestleMania, where they will no doubt should be. There's no doubt in my mind that they should be on the WrestleMania card.
They have to be.
It's just an incredible weekend. But honestly, I think those tag team matches on Raw and SmackDown, there's no one on NXT that should beat them after the run that they've been having.
Yeah. For sure.
It just is what it is.
But yeah, that seems to be pretty much the full card for. And also Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream was confirmed. I think we all knew that was the direction.
That's to pop the crowd. That's really to pop the crowd.
That seems to be the direction for it. Listen, this takeover is as strong as any. I think this looks like the strongest takeover since New Orleans of last year. It has the potential to be just as good as well.
Yeah, I believe so. Also, shout out to Chris CRS_1 on Twitter. He revealed to me, or at least made it known, that NXT's 500th episode will be at that Barclays taping. So,
oh shit, they might do something special.
Interested in what we get for that, but we'll also get on the card. I believe we're also getting on the card Walter versus fucking Pete Dunne.
Oh wow! Holy shit! Fuck that. This could be better than New Orleans.
It's Walter versus Pete Dunne, bro.
Oh my god! I forgot
Walter
all about that.
versus Pete Dunne.
Holy shit! I'm saying it right now on paper. This is show of the year. On paper.
Come
so
on.
yes, when the time comes, we will give our predictions on that. But in case you did stick through the spoilers or did fast forward, that is the end of the A show for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Next week we will have the Mark Madness Round 3 results. We will have more news and our thoughts. FDM segment if need be, AEW watch if need be. Check out our channel on SoundCloud at the A Show RNC. Check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify, of course. We will be coming out with a new episode of Spot Callers this month, coming very, very soon. And we have another special episode of the A Show coming up as well by the end of the month. So, anything else, Meelz?
Let's see. I mean, continue to rate us on iTunes.
Absolutely. Subscribe or square up and tell a friend. Subscribe
or square up. Make sure you listen to Spot Callers. I listened to Spot Callers last weekend. It was very, very good.
Thank you.
Make sure you listen to The Lookout. Also very good. Best fits in Dragon Ball. I don't care who's mad about it.
Yeah.
Turn up. Make sure you listen to Two Belts next Sunday. It is the last episode of Two Belts.
Yes.
It is the final episode of Two Belts podcast. So it should be a doozy. And, RSPN, of course, always stalwart, perfect play, always there, just needed. Playlists, we got them on Decky. That Hot 97 is here. Spring Bling back.
Spring Bling back.
Springling. I'm about to say spring rolls in this bitch. Spring Bling back. We'll be out on Friday, so make sure if you got spring break or anything like that, we got you covered. That's everything RNC Radio. Make sure you follow RNC Radio Live on Twitter at RNC Radio Live on Twitter. So
yes, now that is a fucking handful. All right, guys. Until next week, we are both exhausted. For Meelz, I'm Justin. Peace out.
Happy Rusev Day.